Hey there, welcome to Bandit's Keep. I'm Daniel. Today we're going to talk about a 5-room dungeon. Well, we're not going to talk about, we're going to build one. There's lots of videos out there talking about 5-room dungeons. I will go over it a little bit clearly because obviously you need to know what I'm talking about. But, you could watch a bunch of videos just talking about them. But I thought it'd be fun just to build one. So I'm going to go over a few kind of tools that I like to reference when I'm kind of just trying to be spontaneously creative. A lot of times an idea will come to me from a story I read, or maybe that's another video. Or I'll do something based on something that maybe I was a player in a game that I did, and I thought, oh, that'd be pretty cool to expand on, beyond what the DM did there. Like they inspire me basically. So that's what we're going to do here. Now, I'm just going to quickly again go over these. I'll put all the links in the description for you guys so you can check those out. And let's get to it. So you're going to be looking at my screen here. Let's see. All right, so a few resources that I use a lot. This is the one we're going to use the most, so I'll do it last. This is new actually for me. This is from the people that do Morkborg. And this actually creates, I don't know if it's technically a 5-room dungeon, but basically a location with some stuff going on, a reason for you to be there, an entrance with the guardian, and then 4 little, 4 rooms basically that you can work with. And what's cool about this that I like is you don't just, on many of these you hit the refresh like this, bloop, it just gives you a whole new one. On this one, you can, some of these, if you click on them, like I think guarded by, yeah, only that part changes, right? So if you like most of this, but guarded by you're not happy with an inky formless darkness, then you can go seeking retribution or no one, right? Or a ghost. Well, same one came up again. No one. 3 wicked knife wielding women, and then down here you've got your 4 rooms, and again you can just change those if you want, and of course you can clearly put them in any direction that you want. So we might tap into that. That's a little dark and funky. Where I'm not sure if I want to use that for this dungeon, but we'll go. Another good thing that I use a lot. This is actually. This is 4 or 5 years old almost. This is a blog post on Goblin Punch. I'm going to put a link. 124 OSR style challenges. Basically, these are all just like weird little things that people can try to overcome. Mostly, you can't use combat. I mean, some of them I think are a little bit weird, but like there's cool stuff like that I've used before actually. So we might go in here if we're looking for something interesting. And then we've got Donjon, which I love. There's a million different Donjon things, and we'll use these. This one here, Random Carcosa from Total Party Kill, is great. It gives you a little, it's based on the Carcosa module basically, so it's all this weird stuff. And then they just have this random dungeon width as well, which is you can put as many rooms as you want, and then you hit the refresh, and it gives you that. But before we get into that, let's quickly talk about the 5-room dungeon. So basically, what the 5-room dungeon is a structure, right? So you're going to use this. An advantage of using this is that it gives you this basic structure. So if you're the kind of person that like has lots of little like ideas here and there, this will help you structure them together. Or if you're making an adventure and you just want to make sure that you think it has enough flow to it, enough heft, I think this is a good way to reflect on what you're doing. I don't usually sit down and do it like this, where I have it spelled out. But sometimes I'll think about this as I'm looking at different adventures and stuff that I'm doing. So again, let me just go through them. The first room, as you will, and I guess I'm going to start off by saying it doesn't have to be a dungeon. In fact, the adventure that I ran, and I'll put a link to, that I just ran, the werewolf adventure, was based on this, and they were traveling through the woods and stuff. There was no dungeon at all. But room 1 is an entrance or guardian. This could be a lot of different things. It could be a physical guardian trying to fight somebody. It could be a trick or a trap, a puzzle, whatever. The next room is going to be a puzzle or a role play challenge. Now, if the guardian was a role play / puzzle, then you could make this one a combat. The idea here is you're trying to mix stuff up, right? Room 3 is going to be a trick or setback. This is usually, in my mind, the way I use it is this is usually something that's going to get the party to expend resources. Or not, they got to make a choice, and those resources could be almost anything. Room 4 is going to be your climax. They're going to get to where they're going and have the battle or whatever, if it's that kind of adventure, or that kind of thing, or call out the person if it's a mystery. Maybe here's where you did the murder. And then room 5 is their reward. So if there's treasure, or maybe they find out some information or revelation if it's like part of a longer adventure, or there could be some kind of plot twist like aha. And that's basically how it works. And if you structure these together, and again, they don't have to go through them in this order. I see a lot of people do these and they're very linear, but you don't need to do them very linear. I mean, obviously the entrance / guardian pretty much should be first, I guess. and the climax should be near the end and the reward, but rooms 2 and 3 can very easily be switched around. Anyways, let's get to it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to, I'd found this on one of the random things a few days ago. Scattered remains of a statue put together is PC. So I think that might have come from the 124 thing. So I thought this would be really interesting to use in an adventure, and I'm going to base this whole adventure off this idea that I want to use this. I'm going to make this kind of more of a generic dungeon, if you will. So I'm not going to have like a narrative or a final goal yet. We're just going to kind of work our way through it, and we'll make it work. That's how we're going to do it, I think. So let's look at my screen. Okay, so again, Scattered Remains statue put together as PC. I think that you could say, well, that's a puzzle, right? I think the way I want to use it is I want to use this as the entrance. And what I'm going to do is they're going to get to the location, and there's going to be a locked door or gate, right? And there's going to be some kind of a garden with smashed statues. If I can spell today, right? Now, PCs will notice familiar things about the statues. One of them will realize a statue looks like them, but in classic nude Greek style. Okay. Now, if they assemble the statue, right, it's going to turn into them. So this is my idea here, is that this statue knows how to get past the gate. So once they build the statue, it's going to turn into the PC, right? But then, so there's going to be a couple things, because, you know, I like to have weird stuff happen in my games. So two things are going to happen. One is the statue, once formed, what, my typing is terrible today. Once formed, will turn to flesh and know the way past the gate. Whatever that might be. We can figure that out, right? I'll figure that out in a second. At the same moment, the PC will wither and turn to dust. Their gear, etc., will fall to the ground. Player of that PC takes over new version of themselves. So that way they don't actually die. But it's a cool way to like have them be like, oh, you know. And that's it for now, right? We're going to have that. So that's one thing I'm going to use. Now, the other idea I had, because I saw this down here, by the way, this is from, I did this random dungeon earlier, right before I started the video, and I saw here, see my blood up so you guys can see it, miniature forest with tiny animals, hags, life-size frogs. So what I'm thinking is, this is going to be likely puzzle / roleplay challenge, right? And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this here, and what's going to happen is PCs enter a room, right? In the center, easy to walk around, is a tiny garden. In the center of it, no, the tiny garden. All right, so room is also filled with frogs, and water flows in from one wall to the other, passing through the garden as a stream. Okay, so the idea here is the PCs can, okay, so I'll make note of that. PCs can easily walk around the center garden. If they look closely, they see tiny animals, etc., and paths running through this miniature forest. Okay. Now the idea here is going to be that they've got every opportunity to just walk around this thing, but if they do, they're not going to get the thing that they need, right? This is a puzzle, right? They need something from here in order to move forward. So I'm going to say that some arcane writing is carved in the southern wall. A magic user will actually, I'm gonna have it in both walls. Some arcane writing is carved in both the north and, again, I'm just putting directions so that it's easy. It doesn't actually matter. North and south walls. A magic user will. This is Alice in Wonderland here. Recognize these as incantations to shrink and grow. Some PCs will need to shrink down, go into the forest, and recover key to move on. Now, note I'm not putting what that key is and stuff yet. I can figure that out later. What I want is just a rough idea of how this. Again, I'm assembling my dungeon, right? So I've got. Now, you might notice there's no combat here yet. What I'm thinking here is that there would be there'd be combat in the forest, so this is a combined challenge, or this could actually be the trick or setback. In fact, that's probably what I will do. So since the entrance is a puzzle, I'm going to make room to a fight, I think. But let me just So the idea here is going to be that in the forest there is a cave, too small for a normal sized hand to reach into. Inside the cave is the key. Okay. So they enter a room, blah, 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 walk around the garden, but the door on the opposite wall is magically held. Okay. I'm going to note here, perhaps a poem or writing to hint at what the PCs must do. That's probably going to be important because they're never going to think to go into the forest if they, you know. Oh, you know what? Okay, here we go. In the forest, there is a, not a well, not a cave, but a well. In the center of the forest, there is a well. Okay, so you can't stick your hand in. Because again, I'm giving them, a lot of times I'm trying to create, you don't want to make it so there's only one way for them to do it, right? So if there's a well, so there's a hole in the ground, right? At the bottom of the well is what they need. Inside the well is the key, which is a gemstone that fits into the eye of the creature. I'll say lady. The eye of the face, I'll say, because I don't know what it is yet. That is carved on the door. So up here I need to say door is magically held. Has a face missing an eye. Okay. Okay. And again, this is, by the way, guys, I think what's important here when you're making a dungeon, just in general, forget about 5-room dungeons, is that you are open-minded, right? So in other words, if there's this face on this wall and it's missing an eye, and the poem says something like, replace my eye and you won't die, or whatever you're going to put there, and the players just come up with something cool, it should still work. So I'm thinking that there's this key that's at the bottom, but if they figure out another way to do it, more power to them, right? You don't want to restrict them. Ultimately, they just need to fill this this eye with an appropriate object, I guess. Yeah, that's definitely our puzzle. So these are both puzzles. I guess I'm a puzzle guy. What can I say? So I'm going to actually use this as my trick or setback, because this might actually make the party, you know, it might slow them down, or it might use resources, right? They might use spells, they might use whatever. Yeah. Then again, the trick or setback could be a combat as well. Again, you want to figure out, you know, before I'm going to leave that there, and I'm going to now move on to something else. So I'm going to do another refresh here. All right. Only a closet filled with tiny biting ants. Oh, an exit, not the exit. The guard room, evil altar. Summon helpful imps. 2 arguing demons appear trapped under candle wax. Glass columns, each filled with gas. Subterranean area. Fight for glory and grand prizes. Mushroom beds, stand aggressive bees. Cats barking at single cat with diamonds inside. Beheaded elves branded with Fey Ruin for boring. Choose one of these. So this is going to be our possibly a combat. Let's go with, I love this idea of a closet filled with tiny biting ants, but I don't think that's really gonna. The barking cats are also interesting. Let's see if we can find something out. Giant crystal, mostly shattered, recently fixing some. Oh, I like that. Vandalized portraits fixing themselves from. Cursed ape's skin whip deals damage to wielder. 3 magic moths discuss philosophy. See, there's not a lot of combat checks. These are supposed to be just fun things. So let's do a weird Carcosa and see what we can find for. Mummy with lower half body buried. Eyes shoot lasers. Oh my god. 2 dead orange men lay nearby, one with a scorched hole blown through his head, the other with a scorched hole blown in his chest. Oh, that's interesting. All right, we're using that. I mean, I'm going to change it a little bit, but All right, so mummy with lower half body buried. Okay, so we've got this guy, this mummy in this room. So this is going to be our combat encounter. And what's nice about this is it's buried, which means that if the party is clever, they're going to be able to just figure out a way to take it out. What I need to do is make a way so that they don't just shoot it with arrows from outside the room, because that'd be boring, right? It's not that I'm taking away their ability to do stuff, but that's a boring solution, right? So what I'm going to do here is, oh, okay, now I have it. All right, so this is how this is going to work. Again, I'm taking this mummy, so I'm going to take mummy. I guess I can keep that part. So he's a mummy. I guess I don't have to rewrite all that. I can just go like this. Mummy with lower half of body buried. I shoot lasers. I'm going to take away the 2 lasers, right? Save versus death where I take 5. So that's actually pretty bad. Again, the mechanics I'm not going to worry about. All right. I shoot lasers at anyone that fires a missile attack or strikes the mummy in melee, period. Okay. It wears an emerald medallion, right? So I'm doing the opposite of what this thing wants you to do, because I think that's the obvious thing, right? Is that it shoots you if you try to steal the medallion. I'm doing the opposite. It has the lower half of the body buried, so it can't go anywhere. It'll fire a laser at anyone that strikes it. It has a medallion around its neck. Removing the medallion will destroy the mummy, but touching the mummy will fill the room with poisonous gas, like cloud kill. Okay. If the PCs leave it alone, it will do nothing, comma. However, the medallion is needed to open the final treasure vault. Okay. So what this means is that they can actually avoid it, and they probably will avoid it, right? But then, when they get to this final treasure vault, they're going to realize that they need this medallion in order to open it, which means they'll have to go back to the mummy and then possibly have a fight that's after the big fight, right? Okay, so this is basically a combat, and this right here is the role play. So yeah, so I have these in they have these in the wrong spot, because this is definitely a setback, because I got to go back for it, right? Even though it is a combat, or technically a combat. Now again, they can touch the they just grab the medallion off the mummy without touching it, which is possible, right? Then they will not have to deal with this at all. So they can solve their way past this. Or if they're smart and one PC goes up, then they're the only one that's going to be basically victim to this spell, and so on. So it's not a foregone conclusion that they're going to have to fight this thing. Now, climax, big battle, conflict. Now we don't really know why they're here. So that makes it a little more difficult to do this. But again, maybe they're just tomb raiding, right? And we know here the plot twist is basically the vault is locked with magic that can be dispelled only with the mummy medallion from room 3, right? So that's our, and then tons of loot. Okay, so what is our final conflict here? They're in a tomb, right? So they're going to, this is going to be like so this is going to be a battle, I guess, because we don't really have a fight here. So at this point, we're going to add some kind of undead baddie. There's lots of good ways to do this. I mean, there's lots and lots of good undead. Let's just, let me go here, actually. I'm opening up my little dealio here for Dungeon Crawl Classics. And they actually have here making monsters mysterious, and I believe that there is a whole section here on variety and undead. So let's see what they're going to fight here. We got, let's open up the crawler. And let's roll up an undead and let's see if we like it. So it's going to be 2d20. So I'll take these 2 rolls up here. 17 and 9. Disemboweled. Okay, interesting. And 9. Extraordinary strength. Oh, okay. Wow. Okay. Super strong. Disemboweled creature. All right. So. Disemboweled. Oh, nope. This, oh, okay, am I missing any? I'm like, I know I'm missing a letter there somewhere. There we go, disemboweled. Clearly I don't write disemboweled. Undead. Now, here's the thing, right? If you're in a tomb, like, it doesn't make sense for a mummy to be in the ground, right? So we're going to jump back up here. And this is not going to be a mummy. This is going to be some kind of a ghoul or something. Because, why would a mummy be trapped in the... And also, we got to figure out why this ghoul is trapped in the ground, which we'll figure out in a second. So the final bad guy will be a mummy. So I think because he's disemboweled, can make, this is classic, make a tentacle attacks with intestines. So, I don't like my undead guys to be inside sarcophagi, because that people just spend a lot of time trying to figure out. I mean, you can, ultimately they're going to have to open it, right? So I think what I'm going to do is this room looks to be a once fabulous throne room, comma, sitting on a marble studded with gems. Throne is a... So he's not going to be a mummy in the sense that that he's wrapped up. He's going to be a mummy in the sense that he's desiccated. Desiccated? Desiccated, right? Nope. Desiccated. Yeah. Woman. With a golden crown upon her brow. All right. They're going to fight the... And again, I'm not putting in stats because I don't know what I'm going to run this in. But let's now take a look at this. This is getting a little bit long because we're building it from scratch. So we'll see if I can run through this here and it makes sense. Maybe if I end up fleshing this out more, or when I do, I will just put a link to it. I'll put a Google Doc or whatever. But let's look at this as a 5-room dungeon, right? The party, right, is going to be traveling, and you can, if it's a one-shot, right? So rumors of a great treasure hoard buried with a I want to make it so that she seems like she's a bad guy, because sometimes you get player characters that are like, well, we don't want to raid the tomb because she's with a terrible call her queen of aeons. Aeons past. Okay, something like that, right? So they're going to head to this treasure tomb, right? They're going to get there. There's going to be an entrance. So there's going to be, so let's tighten this up. So they're going to get there. There's going to be a garden. Garden with smash statues, which they're going to walk right past probably, right? At first. Garden with smash statues. The tomb entrance, the tomb, comma, let's say half dome of pure black marble shows no sign of an entrance. Now, again, as we're building up to this, so what we might do, and I'm going to put myself notes up here, right? No one has ever gained entry to this crypt. Many believe it is magically sealed or cursed. Okay? These are like rumors, right? We're going to get them. So there's no sign of an entrance. They're going to spend some time, and then PCs will notice familiar things about the statues. Obviously, you're going to, as DM, you're going to have to play that out that they're going to see that, right? You're going to have to talk that up. Whoever the PC is that seems the most interested in this is the one that will find themselves. That's how I would run this. Or depending on your party, if somebody's interested, you might just have them randomly find the statue as somebody else. That could create good role play between the group, right? Because if player A finds player B's character, player B might be weirded out by it, right? So, anyways, they'll need to assemble it. Once they do, it will turn to flesh, and then they will disintegrate. Essentially, it won't matter mechanically, right? Oh, you know what, too? Okay, so this is just to make it even more creepy. Once statue formed, will turn to flesh and know the way past the gate. In fact, they're not going to say that. They're going to turn to flesh and say, your sacrifice has been accepted. So your sacrifice has been in a slightly strange voice. It has been too long since I have tasted flesh. Right. Sexual form, okay, the strange voice. At the same moment, the PC will wither and turn to dust. Their gear, etc., will be on the ground. Okay, they take over the new versions of themselves. An entrance will now form in the side of the dome. Okay, so that's how they're getting in, right? It's just going to open up. Okay, so room 2 is puzzle/roleplay. So they're going to enter in, and again, I'm not going to draw a map. There's just, you can do it however you want. So they're going to enter into a space. They're going to enter the room in the center of this space is going to be this tiny little garden. The room is going to be, there's going to be frogs in here for some strange reason and water running through. This will be even weirder if this is in the middle of the desert, right? Depends how you want to weird this up, right? Somewhere or somehow, so they're going to, okay, so there's going to be a tiny garden. Room is filled with frogs. Water flows from one wall to the other. Passing through the garden is a stream. There is a soft glow of what feels like natural sunlight in the space. Okay. PCs can easily walk around, right, the center garden, but the door on the opposite is magically held, has a face. We'll make the face the queen, right? Missing an eye. Perhaps a poem or writing to hint what the PCs must do. Okay, so I'll say, when I can see you with both my eyes, you may see me. Something like that, right? There could be a lot of ways I could solve that. However, the one way that I'm putting into it, if they look closely, they can see the tiny animals. This is in the garden, of course. All right, so let me just make sure this is neat so I can see it. Okay, so they're going to see the tiny garden filled with frogs. Soft glow feels like sun. I guess this is going to go here. I'm just rearranging this for myself now, because when you're doing this kind of adventure, guys, you want to make sure that, because I'm not running this today, so I need to make sure that I'm going to put this part about, okay, because you need to give them all the things they need to give, right? So this about the garden is here. Obviously, I would do this in bullet points and stuff. PCs can easily walk around the garden if they want. But the door, blah, blah, blah. Some arcane writing is carved in both the north and south wall. The magic user will recognize these conditions to shrink and grow. Others can use the magic, but will not know what it does until they try. Right? So I'm not making it so they can only be magic user, because you don't want to do that, right? Magic. Oh, I'm typing terribly today. Well, I know and try. Okay. Some PCs will need to shrink down, go to the forest, and recover the key to move on. In the center of the forest, there is a well, too small for normal hand size to reach into. Each side of the well is the key, which is gemstones that fits into the eye of the face that is carved in the door. There you go, right? Or if they want to take a 10-foot pole or something very skinny and shove it in the hole and get the gem that way, they can do that as well. It's however they get it. Again, if I was writing this for other people, I would say I would put notes that I'm telling you guys here. Be flexible there, right? Okay, so they get past that. That door opens. They head down this this other space. They see this ghoul with the lower half of the body buried. Wears an emerald medallion. Removing the medallion will destroy the ghoul. But touching the ghoul will fill the room with a poisonous gas, like Cloud Kill. If the PCs leave it alone, it will do nothing. However, the medallion is needed to open the final treasure vault. Okay? And they'll figure that out, right? One way or the other, they'll get that medallion, believe me. Get rid of this trigger set pack. Room 4, our climax. This room looks to be a once fabulous throne room. Sitting on the marble studded with gems throne is a disemboweled, desiccated woman with golden crown upon her brow. She will attack any who steal from the... Actually, no, you know, she's desiccated because she doesn't have any blood, so maybe she's a vampire. Right? Okay. The room will... The desiccated woman with golden crown upon her brow will attack those that enter the room. Actually, I want them to spend time exploring, because that's just how I like to do it. So I'm going to say we'll attack those that... I'm going to stick with my original idea, those that steal from her. Simple enough, right? Beyond the throne is a stone door locked via magic, which can be opened by anyone wearing the medallion from room 3. And what we'll say here is has drawings showing a man with the medallion around his neck, opening the door, and piles of treasure beyond. Okay, this way they know they're supposed to put it on. And again, I would wing this if somebody doesn't want to put it on, but they hold it in their hand, they touch the wall to it. If they do something with the medallion, they'll be able to open it. And then in the final room, we've got the vault door is locked with magic, so they'll have to go back to the ghoul if they want to do that. There'll be tons of loot. And what I'm thinking here is possibly that if they do, anyone who wears the medallion can never leave the tomb. So if you're doing a one shot, that can be dramatic and getting kind of fun, you know. Or if you just run a really tough campaign like that, or if you want to have some kind of other quest for them to be able to save that PC. Otherwise, I wouldn't do that because that's going to piss off a whole lot of players if you make one of their PCs get stuck in there permanently. But it could be really a cool twist, right? If they put the medallion on, they get the treasure, and then when they come out, they can't leave the tomb. And they become essentially the guardian of the tomb. So that's kind of it, right? So again, we've got 5 rooms. We're bringing the PCs through a plot, right? They have an entrance to go through. They've got some role play challenges. They've got there's a twist to it. They've got some, well, let me do an order, right? And those are your 5 rooms. And you can use this as a structure. There's something to be said about, you know, if you notice as I was doing this, clearly, there were times I was like, oh, I need this. And that's kind of good, right? It makes you think and say, oh, I got to make sure that I'm having enough plot information here. Because I do think that sometimes when we're building an adventure, especially a very short one-shot, we might forget to do that. And what we end up with is kind of I don't want to say that there's holes in the plot, because whatever, that's an entire other video. But what you might end up with is something that's maybe not as complete. This gives us enough pieces to play with. This is definitely good for a one-shot. You could skirt over some things if this was a short adventure. I could see running this in like 2 hours with some gung-ho players. I could also see stretching it out to a 3 or 4 hour session if you play like longer sessions. If you wanted to run it over multiple sessions, you could play out the trip to the tomb, and in fact, that in and of itself could be its own little 5-room dungeon. Where is this place located? Remember, I showed you all those other things here with Don John and stuff. You could basically use any of these things to find a cool location. I'm not showing you because I'm not showing the screen. You could use any of these things to find a cool location or quests. Right, here's quests, here's locations. So this, all kinds of ways that we could do this if you want to extend this further. And that's kind of what I do. I start with my kind of core. I mean, normally when I'm doing these kind of adventures, they're one-shots. So I usually start people at the dungeon door. What I found is that if you put them in a town, one quick narrative sentence away from them being in the dungeon, they will spend the entire session in the tavern looking for something to do. So if you're running something like this, I find it works better if you, and I don't want to say it's a bit of a railroad, but that's because it's a one-shot and you're trying to get them through it. That being said, these rooms, except for the entrance, well, that's not even true too. Even the entrance could be not where it is. Clearly, the throne room needs to be the last room or the second last room, right? So, for instance, I could take this here, knowing that room 4 has to be last. I could theoretically have the very first place that the PCs go to, is the room with the garden, right? They go through that, then they get into the room with the ghoul that's shooting lasers at them. In fact, they might even go through that and then enter into a room that's like where there's a locked vault where it's pretty clear they need something to open it, right? Then they could go to the they could go through the room with the garden, whatever, and it could be that locked vault, that key, doesn't just open up the true treasure like I have it written here. Maybe when they open that, it opens up into the throne room, and that's where the treasure is. So I can run these in almost any order. The thing is that what you don't want the treasure to be till the end, otherwise they'll leave, But they could encounter them in any order, like I said. That's kind of what's fun about this. It won't always work out that way when you do this. Sometimes they need to be done in a certain order, but I think depending on how you run it, you can get away with kind of mixing it up, right? So let me know in the comments if you guys want me to write this out a little bit more officially, and I'll put like a Google Doc up or something, because it seems like it'd be fun to play. I'd like to see if you guys play it and have fun with it. You could run this in any system, like I said. And let me know what else you guys want to see. There's lots of stuff that I could talk about. I definitely am going to start working on the Mega Dungeon. That's going to be multiple sessions, multiple videos, I'm sure, because I know already this one thing was 45 minutes. This is a long video. So, yeah, we'll break that one down for sure. But I figured I'd do this one in one shot, and we'll kind of go through it. All right, guys, if you haven't already, go ahead, subscribe, ring the bell, do all that good stuff. So excited that we've gone over 1,000 subscribers now, and building the community here. And I appreciate all the good comments you guys have given me. And I'll see you next time.